Day 8, Inktober. What? All right, I'm out of sequence here, but I'm using Day 8 for Inktober's prompt of star to work on some of the inking techniques that I need to practice because I want to use them on Day 2. I didn't use them in Day 1 on my scorpion for poison. I want to use them on Day 2 for tranquil, and until I practice them, so I thought, well, why not practice them on camera? The prompt is star, and I drew 8 stars for Day 8, and I'm going to try 8 techniques. And these are just inking techniques, and I just did a little research, and then I labeled each one. So I'll speed through as I begin, but the first one is dots, and I'm going to start out just by doing some little bit of dots and then adding more as I want to get more shadow and darker. I'm using my Micron 04. Looks like my 08 started to run out, and my 05 is looking a little sketchy too. So, sketchy, get it? And since my window's to the right, I'll have my light source coming from the right, and so any shadowing I do, I'll have on the left side. All right, dots, very tedious. Good for texture. Like for the scorpion I did yesterday, which is actually today, but I'm working on this on Day 1. But I think the dots, more dots would have come in handy, but man, it's tedious. So let's move on to vertical lines. All right, I chose to do some that were full length. Well, not really actually, but let's pretend that I did. Some that are full length, some that are broken, and adding more for the shadow over here. So just more and more vertical lines. Different kind of texture. All right, my next one's going to be just lots of scribbles. And I have to say this is like my favorite because this sort of appeals to how I like to draw when I'm doodling or just doing stuff freehand. When I used to be a teacher, I would find myself spacing out in meetings that we'd have in the library, and I end up like looking around and not paying attention. So I found that doodling really helped me focus on what was being said, and often I will do that while we're watching TV or something. I'll draw and doodle, and then I can, believe it or not, focus on the dialogue. So just keep scribbling over to get shadow, more and more shadow. I'm varying the shadow on all these. All right, horizontal lines, kind of self-explanatory. I think I'll do the diagonal, the crosshatch, and this last one, which combines a bunch of techniques. I'll do that last. So I think I'll go on to continuous, and for continuous, kind of looks like what you might have if you're trying to get, say, a wood pattern. So, like, continuous line going down with some curves following down. You know, if you're doing wood, you know, sometimes you have those knots. So we do sometimes do stuff like that, and that's really convenient for that. I often sketch my morning sketch on my, I keep everything on my bench because we don't have a coffee table, and it has a really nice, we had them handmade. We found the guy on Etsy. He does this beautiful woodwork, and he happens to be right here in Portland, so that was convenient. And we went to his workshop and picked up our benches. He did these beautiful benches, and this is just gorgeous wood. So I often will draw that, you know, with my cup of coffee or my bowl of cereal. Or got a little overzealous with the knots here. All right, so for the final three, we'll start with diagonal, and it can be broken or solid. And certainly if I wanted to, I could go in the other direction. Not even really sure why you'd use one over the other. Again, sometimes the drawing you just look at it, it lends itself to that. Okay, so those are the diagonal ones. And just heavier where I need a shadow. All right, crosshatch. So for crosshatch, we start out with diagonal. I'm going to go diagonal in the other direction. Hence the cross. So there you go for crosshatch. Now, for this last one, vertical line, horizontal line, and then diagonal lines in both directions. So it's a cross hatching over a vertical and a horizontal line, and I can get a lot of color there. So let's do. When you really want to come across with dark, but you don't want to just color the whole thing in. So for the one thing I didn't do is put a shadow on the crosshatch, trying to decide, I didn't want to go into it before I tackled this one. So let's see. I guess the idea is if I want to just stick with this, so yeah, all right, there are some techniques I'm going to incorporate in my Inktober. Thanks for watching. See you next time.